Hey, welcome to World Entertainment. We got some Supergirl news. Specifically, it's officially cast its villain for the movie. So we now know who the villain is going to be played by and what villain is actually going to be in the movie. And it's an interesting choice, to be honest. Especially when you hear the name of the villain, you're like, what the hell kind of name is that? And it's just terrible, to be honest with you, with who it is and why it's them, because it comes from Tom King once again. But just before we jump in, it's that time again. Hit the sub button, people. Do it. Let's get the channel to 2,000 subs. Cheers for everyone who has hit the sub button and the likes and the shares and has been commenting and all that stuff. It really does help out the channel and all the rest. So thanks very much, and it's much appreciated. Now, let's jump into this. By the way, this dude's name is hard to pronounce. So it says, The Hollywood Reporter has confirmed that Belgian actor Matthias Schoenaerts of The Old Guard, remember that movie on Netflix with Charlize Theron? Yeah, I watched it. I thought it was okay. Can't remember a thing about it. Don't even remember who the hell he was in it. He's going to be the villain. And says he will be playing the lead villain in Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, opposite Millie Alcock, who of course is going to be Supergirl. So it says Schoenaerts, or if I've even said that right for the second time, is taking on the role of, okay, wait till you hear this name, people, Krem of the Yellow Hills. Isn't that a mouthful? The big bad in Tom King's and Bellicuse Elvy's Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow comic book. Krem kills the father of a young alien girl who then enlists the Maiden of Might on her revenge mission. Because who doesn't want to see a revenge mission with a superhero that's meant to be optimism and everything else? The trades reiterates that shooting will begin in the UK next January, and this casting is another indication that the upcoming movie will still stay closely to the comic book it shares a name with, which isn't good because that comic book was not well received. But I'm just going to say his first name. Matthias most recently starred alongside Kate Winslet in HBO's The Regime. He's also known for appearing in Rust and Bone and Red Sparrow, but Krem will be his most high-profile role to date. Typically, we'd expect a much bigger name star to play a villain like this. Instead, it seems DC Studios will rely on Alcock's star power, following her stellar work in House of the Dragon. Kyle Chandler being cast as Hal Jordan in Lanterns also suggests the studio is being cautious when it comes to splashing out on pricey A-list actors for these DC projects. Except that would be a show, but that's where that makes more sense rather than them going for the likes of a Matthew McConaughey and Josh Brolin and stuff that they were looking at. Or at least that they were saying they were looking at. News that Matthias was in talks for a role in the movie was first shared by My Time to Shine on September 14th. Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow is currently scheduled to be the second DCU title released by DC Studios and will be held by Cruella director Craig Gillespie. And then it just goes on about the screenplay and all that. And we know what the story is in this, is that, you know, she ends up going on this quest with Crypto the dog and all this crap. I'm actually surprised that it's filming that quickly as well. Isn't it funny though how when they announced all these movies that it was meant to be that all the DC projects was going to start with Creature Commando, then Superman on the big screen, then the Authority on the big screen, so on and so forth. Supergirl was like the seventh thing announced. And now it's completely changed that. I think Creature Commandos is still coming out first. Then I think Peacemaker 2 might come out before Superman. Then, I think so, because didn't they say that leads into Superman? Which makes no sense. Then it's Superman, then it's Supergirl, and then it's meant to be the Authority. You know, because why wouldn't you start with right after Superman, I don't know, Batman? No, they want to do it arse over tits ways. And this casting is like whatever. You know, it's a nobody, a name no one's going to recognize. The majority of people, they'll see his image and they'll go, I have no idea who that is. You know what I mean? Putting up the old guard. He was in the old guard. People go, cool. What was that again? And then you'll have to explain the thing on Netflix. You remember where they were immortal? And then people go, no. You know, it's got to be one of them. Trying to say, oh, they're going to stick with lower names. No, they're not. They're not, because you're not going to convince people to see the more obscure characters with absolute no-name people playing them. You know, it's bad enough you're going to have to try and convince people and make them care enough to go and see something like the Authority. You throw in a bunch of no-names, no one's going to see that movie. Plus, they're still going to have that problem with that movie when it comes to the fact that people are going to look at it and go, oh, it's just a knockoff, a dollar store version of the Suicide Squad, even though they're more of a knockoff version of The Boys, but whatever. This casting, like, it's a villain no one's heard of, you know, because, again, no one really read Tom King's Supergirl, didn't do all that well. No one has heard of Krem of the Yellow Hills, you know. You tell someone that, turn around to some superhero norm, you know, the people who just go and see the films and stuff, and say, you excited for Supergirl? Did you hear who the villain is? And they'll probably be like, no, didn't who? Who is it? And you go, Krem of the Yellow Hills. They're going to look at you like you're making shit up, and they'll just, get out of here, you joker. And you'll be like, no, I'm serious. Krem of the Yellow Hills. They're just going to laugh at you and go, this dude's smoking crack or something. But, and then you have to try and convince them who's playing it. And they'll be just like, who? You know, and the guy whose name you can't even pronounce. That's good. I hate that. Why? It's oh my sweet Jesus. I don't know what to say about it anymore at this stage. It's a joke, really, isn't it? Tom King again. Oh, good Christ. But there you go. There's who your official villain is for Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, who's officially cast to play said villain. And it's shooting in January. So only a few months to go. So with that, I'll leave it there for this one. Cheers, and I shall catch you in the next one.